Okay, so we are in continuation. We are on the law of liberty. We covered free will. We started with fatalism last week. We will continue with fatalism today. And just to recap, for those that come for the first time, within the study of Spiritism, we understand that we have free will. We have an ability of making decisions. We have the potential of changing, of making our destiny. There is two things that is determined for us. As incarnate spirit, it is determined that we are going to die. Our physical body eventually will stop working. And that is determined by natural causes. The end of vitality of this physical body eventually will lead to our death of the body, and the discarnation of the spirit. And as eternal spirit, it is also determined to us by God that we will reach complete purity or spiritual perfection without never stopping learning. We are going to reach the level of the Christs. How long is going to take? It's really up to us. And one of the things that makes this difference is how do we use our free will? There is another school of thoughts, philosophical school of thoughts that confront free will, say that we don't have free will, don't make choices, and that's determinism and fatalism. Determinism is different from fatalism because it has a cause, has causality. Things are determined to us because of something else, and those something else is of a physical nature. And by physical nature includes biology, hormones, anything that you may think of. Okay? So fatalism really does not really exist. Okay? But Kardec spent a long time here, especially dealing with death. And I think he tries to cover as much as possible the questions that we would have. Because in truth, there is a few things that may mimic fatalism. And that is the law of progress. We need to progress. It's the law. We're going to progress. And in order to progress, in order to go from point A to point C, we need to pass by point B. You need to pass by point B, okay? If we are going to learn how to resolve equations, we need to know to add, subtract, multiply, divide, fraction. We need to know those things. So in order to progress, you need to pass by some steps. The law of progress guides us towards those steps. We have free will and delay those steps and procrastinate as much as we can, but eventually we need to go to those steps because eventually we are going to learn equations. And to get there, you need to know how to add, subtract, divide, fraction, those things. And then also the law of cause and consequence. We are free to do things, but everything that you do generates consequences. Now you need to deal with the consequences. You made that choice. It's almost your sign underneath say, okay, now I have to deal with this the consequence of my choices. And that may mimic fatalism, but it's not because it was your decision. No, if you plant bananas, you're going to sow bananas. You're not going to be able to pick up anything else from a banana tree. It is fatalism that you're going to eat bananas? No. You made a choice. Now it is bananas that you have. Right? And some people would say that it's predetermined for us, those things. Well, what it predetermined is the consequence of your choices. And that may mimic the something as being predestined to us. But things are not really predestined. We have a plan, a reincarnation plan. That is, get together with your mentors and say, let's look, how can we help you to progress? You need to go through A, B, C, and D in order to progress, because the goal is to progress. The goal is to make ourselves better. You have the tendency to this, we're going to avoid that, we're going to offer the possibility of going this. Now, this is going to have to go through because most often, as a consequence of choices made in the past, if I damage the part of my pancreas and liver with excess alcohol, and this is imprinted there, again, it's a physical thing, in perispirit, those damages, I could come here with some problem, gastrointestinal problems, pancreatic problems. It is a consequence of my thing. I'm gonna have to go through that. Want to call it fatalism? This principle here. If you want to call it, go ahead and call it. But indeed, is opportunities of purification, of cleaning up that part of the perispirit that you messed up through a difficulty in this incarnation. And that goes also for the good and for the bad. I know I'm starting this conversation with the conclusion, right? But most of those questions, that's what the Spirit's going to be telling us. The answer is going to be things like this, okay? So last week we covered 56. Today we start with 857. Can you read, Philip?
There are those who brave the perils of war, fully convinced that their time has not come. Are there any grounds for this confidence? Individuals often have a premonition of their end. On the other hand, such individuals may also have a sense that their time of death has not yet come. This intuition is due to the action of their protective spirits who warn them to be ready to go or boost their courage when they particularly need it. It may also come to them from the intuition that they have of the life they have chosen or of the mission they have accepted that they know they must fulfill.
Okay. So again, there is that plan that you have, right? In a pre-incarnation, things that you should go through, things that you need to go through. Most of the time is a natural sequence of events. It's like in our chronological education over here, you go from first grade to second grade, third grade, following a natural path of our progress. So in that natural path as an eternal spirit, we are going to those stages there, first grade, second grade, and let's assume each incarnation is a grade. This is an example. You follow that normal sequence of events, right? The last class, we did very bad in mathematics, so we're going to hold you from going ahead until you dominated this thing that should have dominated last semester, but you didn't. So we're going to hold you off. You're not going to progress in mathematics this year until you get this well done. So it is with our eternal life. So we have those plans over there. Once we reincarnate, and especially after 7 years of age, when things are we are pretty much fixed in the physical body, we'll remember that plan, right? But it's there. It's in him. It's there with us, with the spirit. So we have I'm gonna call it a subconscious. I don't know if that's the right word. I don't have a I don't know what's the right word to use. You're gonna use subconscious. But you have those recalls of those things that are in your plane. They come to you from time to time. And that leads to have what we call a premonition, this certain confidence, as in this question over here, that you can go to war because your time is not on that war. Not going to happen. You have that premonition that, yeah, I'm going to go through to the war, but I'm going to get out of it okay, and my time of death is much later on. Something you have that idea already. For one thing, it's not normal for us to, to predict our death in a sense that we have a natural, innate optimism about things. Right now, you already make plans for your vacation for next year. You don't even know if you're going to be able to get home, if I can get home alive today. I don't know if I have a timing bomb in my brain over here, tick tock, ready to go up at any minute. An aneurysm, but we don't think like that. We already make plans for next year, and the younger ones that make plans for retirement, and we have a natural optimism. Individuals go to war, they're not going to, I'm going to die in this war. They may have that presentiment, but normally we don't. We're going to go, we're going to fight, we're going to do what we have to do, come back home and continue our lives. That's the normal way of thinking. It may be that someone has the opposite of this question here. I have a presentiment that you'll not survive, you'll not come home alive from that war. It could be also the same thing, the same answer over here, that you have that premonition, that things in your subconscious that is there for you. Okay? So what could be your spiritual guide giving you a stimulant, giving you encouraging you, as the spirits here. These intuitions due to the action of your protective spirits who warn them to be ready to go or boost their confidence when they particularly need it. So maybe, they called me, I need to go, and I have a way out of it, but I'm afraid. Maybe in a dream or by inspiration, my spiritual guide say, hey, man, you can go. You have a lot more things to pay. You're going to stay here to suffer a lot longer. This war, you come back from it. Okay. Is there any question regarding that?
$8.58.
Yeah, they'll just move it up for you. Yeah.
How is it that those who have a premonition of their death generally dread it less than others do? It is the human being and not the spirit who fears death. Individuals who have a premonition of their death view it as a spirit rather than as human beings. They understand that it will be a release to freedom and await it.
Okay, this is a very important question here in a sense that the spirits want to separate what we feel as a human being, as incarnate spirit, and what we feel as an eternal spirit. We have that strong survival instinct. An instinct pertains to our physical life. Okay, most of these things is for our physical existence. And this instinct of survival extremely strong. We covered this instinct already here. And that instinct of survive will make us dread the possibility of death because we want to stay here as long as possible. And that way it should be, right? That's what offers the possibility to stay here as long as possible, to learn as much as we can, to pay as much as debt as we can, and everything comes. The more we stay here, the better for us. Okay? And this instinct of survival provides it to us. But as a eternal spirit, outside of the physicality, we understand that our lives are eternal, and you may have it's essential sensation when the time is coming and be quite comfortable to it. As a clinician who dealt with many cases of near death, so to say, I see individuals going from a state of despair and die everything else, but they come to the point saying, no, I'm good now. I'm ready to go, everything else. Many cases of that. I had an uncle who traveled from his home, went to all his brothers and sisters' houses to say goodbye because his time was coming, relative health. He was fluid. And as soon as finished doing his going around and say goodbye to everybody, and people say, "What?" He went home and one day didn't wake up. Just like that. We see a lot of that, especially with chronic disease, with terminal cancers, that they fight to do everything. It comes to a point they say, I'm good to go. I'm okay now. And they're going comfortable because now it's no longer the physical that is predominating. It is the eternal spirit. And the eternal spirit know that it's time to go. It's actually a good thing. It's a liberation from all the trouble that I may have with this disease, everything else. I'm going to get better off if I go to the other side. Questions, comments? Okay, Philip.
859.
Yes.
If death is inevitable at its appointed time, does this also apply to all accidents that may happen to us over the course of our lives? They are often small enough that we can warn you against them and sometimes help you avoid them by directing your thoughts, because we do not like physical suffering. All this is of little importance to the life you have chosen. Fatalism truly is the hour at which you are born into and exit the physical life. Are the
Okay, go ahead.
Are the incidents that must occur in a life and that spirits cannot help you avert? Yes, but you saw these incidents when you chose your life as a spirit. Nevertheless, it would be wrong to assume that everything that happens to you was written in the stars, as people say. An event is often the consequence of something you have done by an act of your own volition. Had you not done that thing, the event would not have taken place. If you burn your finger, it is a trivial inconvenience resulting from your own carelessness and a consequence of matter, not destiny. Only great sorrows, serious events that are capable of influencing your moral state, are predestined by God because they will be useful to your purification and education.
Thanks. So the first question, that's inevitable. Okay. And that is a predicted time. But again, this predicted time is not April 14th at 7:58 p.m. Predicted time is between April 2032 at 7 p.m. Okay, it could be in another month, it could be 2 or 3 years apart. It's not exactly at that time. You'll be around that time. Okay. If we don't do anything really stupid, then shorten that time. We can always shorten that time. And if we're doing something extremely good, we may extend that time as well. Those possibilities also. But in general, that is that ballpark time that you're going to go, and you're going to go at that ballpark. So the question is, if that is pretty much set for us, are also all the accidents that happen to us also set for us? First of all, just about 80%, and there's a book that says 8%. I think it's even more than that. Of things that happen to us in this life has nothing to do with a plan, has nothing to do with previous incarnation, is things that are consequences of decisions that we make here, now, in this incarnation. There was not in a plan, has nothing to do with what I was in the previous incarnations, just decisions that I made here now, and they generate consequences. The majority of things that happens to us. Okay. the spirits are not concerned with small things that does not make much of a difference, that does not contribute to our progress. And they say there are very small things, and they're so small they are more than help to help you guys to avoid it, because they do not really contribute to your moral and intellectual progress, and they don't want us to suffer. If people help us to suffering, they will do so, just as long as it does not become an impediment for our progress. That they will not do. So they say they are often small enough that we can warn you against them, and sometimes help you to avoid by direct your thoughts, because we do not like physical suffering. So as long as it's not going to stop me from move on, progress, the little things here and there, and again, little things is relative, what I may call it, what they may call it really things over here, because they're now more elevated spirit. They think as us as eternal spirit. Little things for them may be not so little for us here. Okay? And then all of these of little importance of the life we have chosen. Fatalism truly is the hour in which you are born into and exit the physical life. So two things that's pretty much set for us is the time that we're going to be born, because that depends on a lot of people. There's a lot of the things, there is mom and dad involved in that as well, and a lot of the things involved in it. It's not only our choice by alone, right? And the time that we go, we already spoke about, that is pretty much set when we're going to have the expiration of the vitality of the physical body. The battery going to go empty, and that's the end. That's pretty much that. Although even those can be extended, depending on the circumstances, or we may do something really silly and shorten it. Now, the second part of the question, are there incidents that must occur in a life and that spirits cannot help you avert? Yes. Those who are a direct consequence of something that you provoked, especially in the physical body. Again, we use the example of someone who smoked their whole life. We start smoking at 15 and live to be 85, smoking 2 packs a day. In a day like that we live today, that there is no way that someone can claim ignorance about cigarette smoke. We all know it. We may pretend that we don't know it, but it's impossible not to know. The way it's so well published, so well studied, and so well published, there's no way, right? It is a chronic suicide, cigarette smoking today. And you got to be 85 to see those guys, what they're talking about. And I smoked my whole life, I'm here, strong, but you don't know how much damage you're causing to your spirit. And perhaps next incarnation, it's already there imprinted for your abuses. Then you're going to come back, I don't know, cystic fibrosis, asthma, what else, something, but something you're already compromised. It is a consequence. You made the choice, especially when you already know the choice they already make, because you can't claim ignorance. No, you're going to have to view the consequences. Those disputes are not going to change. Another thing that is a major event that you contribute to your progress, to your ability for you to free yourself of some impediment, some very difficult vice that you need to go through, they're not going to help you. You need to go through that. You will go through that. But again, those are the major things, okay? And law of progress, law of cause and consequence, you will dictate. Now you need to go through that. You need to learn equation. You spent like 5 incarnations, you didn't even learn how to add, subtract, because you procrastinate. Now you're going to have to learn one way or another. Okay, so things that really contribute, that you'll not interfere. But it's the great things, only great sorrows, serious events that are capable of influencing your moral state are predestined by God because it will be useful to your purification and education. Again, the goal, the objective of coming here is to purify, to educate ourselves. And the spirits will not do anything that derail our possibility of purifying ourselves and educating ourselves. Common questions, comments?
$860.
Yes, please.
Can individuals, by their will and effort, prevent events from taking place and vice versa? They can if this deviation is compatible with the life they have chosen. They may prevent wrongdoing to do good, which should be the sole purpose of life, especially if that wrong might contribute to an even greater evil.
Can individuals, by their will and effort, prevent events from taking place and vice versa? Again, the laws of progress. We are here to learn, we are not here to suffer. If you learn things that does not require suffering, God is benevolent. And I'd rather you to learn. And love covers a multitude of errors, right? The divine law is not a one-to-one. You do one bad and now you do your good, you get one good, you do one bad, you get one bad. No, you do one good, it covers a lot of errors for you because God is generous to us. Okay. There is a case in a book. I didn't read the book. I read that, and I think it's in the books of Brothers X. That tells the case of this man died died at an advanced age already. He lived in a country in the countryside of Brazil, and once he died, he went back in the spiritual world. Was aware of his death, was comfortable with his death, and the mentor, the spiritual guide, brought to him his book, his file, so to say, right? And then in that file there was all the plans, all the things that's supposed to go through in that reincarnation that he just left. And he's reading through it, and no, but this is not mine, it's wrong. The guy is giving the wrong guy. Can I have my file over here? He's messing, no, it's you. Is that your name? Yeah, you did, but it's wrong. There's some still things over here, it's completely wrong. Look at here. I was supposed to be blind, to get blind at my adulthood. I lived, to be quite a senior, and a lot of things were bad, but on my eyes, I were two good, real good eyes. No, it was you. You were supposed to go blind, but it didn't happen. Well, how is that? Well, continue reading over here and show me, find if there's anything says over there that you were supposed to adopt 12 kids. There was none. How is that you? Or why is that not there? Right? Because the law is of benevolence. The law is not here to make you suffer. The law is here to make you learn. So this individual, for whatever reason, do not specified, you are supposed to go blind in that adulthood, go blind. But during his life, one of his brothers or uncle died suddenly and had some young children. He took the children for him when his wife. And then there was a neighbor that the kid that died also. He took the kids also. And he ended up with a bunch of young kids in his hand, and his wife died suddenly. And he was the one man with 12 adopted children to raise. So divine benevolence said, let's scratch that thing about blindness. This is a man who is doing wonderful work for himself, what he's doing for himself. And if you take into consideration of the children, what's going to happen to these children if this kid goes blind, right? So the plan of blind was erased. He didn't need to go to that suffering. Whatever was the cause that would lead him to go to blindness, he resolved, he learned, and replaced whatever that karma, so to say, was with love, adopting kids, raising them as their own. And that's the way the law goes. So yes, for the answer for the question is yes, we can change events of our lives. And that's why we have free will. That's why we have the divine laws imprinted in our conscience. That's why Jesus Christ came as and brought us a gospel to direct us to move our lives in the direction of love. That even if you're being the real devil in the past, we can erase all that by doing good, if it contributes to our progress. And doing good, loving one another, always contribute to our progress. So yes, we can change things, and we do quite often. Unfortunately, for the good and for the bad. It goes both ways. Okay, any comments, any questions?
Page 61.
Yeah, 861 is a big one. Go ahead.
Did those individuals who commit a murder know in choosing their life that they would become murderers? No. They knew that they incurred the risk of killing one of their fellow creatures by choosing a life of struggle. However, they did not know whether they would or would not, because a murderer almost always deliberates before committing the crime. And if people can deliberate, they are free to carry out the action or not. If spirits knew that they would commit a murder beforehand, it would imply that they were predestined to commit that crime. No one is ever predestined to commit a crime. Every crime, like every other action, is the result of choice and free will. You are confusing two things that are quite distinct: the events of material life and those of moral life. If any sort of fatalism exists, it is only in the events of your material life, of which the cause is beyond your control and independent of your will. As to the acts of the moral life, they always emanate from human beings themselves, who always have the freedom of choice. In those acts, there is never any destiny.
So, people who committed murder know in choosing their lives that they would become murderers. The short answer is absolutely not. No one reincarnate predestined to commit any kind of crime, to do any kind of wrong. No one in any circumstances. We bring with us our tendencies. You bring with us the bags of our pasts. You bring with us our likes and dislikes, our hates and loves, but none of the things predestine us to commit any kind of crime. No one incarnates to do any harm to another human being. The calamities are necessary, but all to whom are responsible for those calamities. That's what Jesus told us. We live in a world of trials and expiations. We live in a world in which evil still predominates of good. So we will encounter, just by nature of the place where we live, just by nature of the spirits that inhabit in this planet, individual commits all kinds of crimes, but none of them was predestined to do so. None of them came here and say, the calamities are necessary. I want you to go and be the one who brings that calamity upon earth. No, absolutely, that's never the case. Okay, and this and the Kardec continues over here saying that we are confused two things. They're quite distinct, the events of material life and those of moral life. To commit a murder is an act of moral life. To adopt 12 kids is an act of moral life. To end up with pancreatic cancer, that's material events. Okay, to lose your arm in a car accident, it's material events. Those are different things. Those you need to go through most often as a consequence of choices that we made in the past. And again, that goes for the good and for the bad. I see over here that I always bring the bad events. I mean, but it goes for the good and for the bad as well. Okay? We may have a wonderful, very healthy life surrounded by all kinds of pandemias and infections and never get anyone. Perhaps it's a merit that you acquired from the past as well. Okay? But please, this is something that we need to know for sure. No one comes through an incarnation predetermined to cause any harm to another human being in any situation. Questions? No comments? All right.
62.
May I say my comment? I like to make a comment or clarification for you. There are cases, I'm thinking about the Melendez brothers, and there are many cases like that, in which those kids grew up in total abuse. Okay? And then eventually, when they grew up, they killed both the parents. Now, is it possible that they are responding to something in a previous life? One, that could be a possibility. Or could the crime they committed be kind of not justifiable, but understandable? I'm not. I'm thinking out loud for because that's what my thoughts all go through. What do you think, or you, or Joao, or anybody else?
Yeah, so the likelihood is that they were supposed to come into a very difficult reincarnation in which they would be subjected to abuses, sexual abuses, verbal abuses, physical abuses.
Yeah.
There's a lot of difficulties to learn something good, resignation, patience, forgiveness, create a thick skin, all kinds of possibilities. Never to retaliate with a murder. That would not be the plan. No, I think there's a second question. Is that understandable?
Yeah, that's my question. I will never justify murder, of course.
Right. So yeah, although it's not justifiable, I agree with you. I would say that is kind of understandable.
Yeah.
That in a
Okay.
moment of loss of yourself, of not being able to keep up with the abuses, you react to in a moment and you commit a crime. You know what? that would be one of those cases that, and it is, it's a specific cases, it's ringing around, it goes back and forth because of it. I think for now, the 12 jurors, what just talking about being a juror here, sitting over there, I mean, they have difficulty of going to one side or another because it is kind of understandable and yet not justifiable. Someone who is born, let's say, in the favelas and down in Rio, and the mother is a prostitute, the father is a drug dealer, the big brother is a drug dealer, the big brother is doing very well, being very successful. The older brother who said, "No, I'm not doing drug," was murdered. And then this kid chooses, no, dealing drug is the way to go. Is this justifiable? No. Is this
No,
understandable? Some
no.
kind of, yeah,
Yeah,
understand that he took that path, but is it still
It's the free will.
they feel like the brother who chose not going to that life and end up dying from it. Right? So
yeah,
so it is not justifiable. You are not born in that situation to become a drug dealer, to become a murderer, to carry a gun. You're born in that situation exactly to resist all those temptations, to not give in and become one of those. But if you do not resist and become one of those, it's kind of understandable, although
yeah.
wrong, although not justifiable. It's
Yeah,
you can give it can kind of understand.
Although there's a lot more merit in not going that path and get murdered or killed, for not going there than going there, right?
The only merit is that there is only merit and not become a criminal, not become a drug dealer.
yeah,
The merit is only that. Although I say that is understandable,
yeah,
still it is a crime, still it's deviating from that reincarnation plan, is going in the opposite direction.
exactly.
Yes.
And also, if you think of we have to make a note here on the parents. Nobody's supposed to they are going to be born in a family that they have the risk of being abused, of facing violent at home. But the parents are also not supposed to be violent, not supposed to abuse others. They abuse because of their free will, and then carries the consequences of the son. So in the case of the sons
Melendez.
that murder their parents because
Mele-
of the parents' abuse, the parents are also responsible and carry the responsibility of the act committed by their sons
Sure.
because of their own participation in that. So you create karma for yourself for the things that you cause others to do, right? We studied this we saw this in the book Action and Reaction that we studied this last month, right? That that André Luiz asked about this lady that went into became a prostitute, right? If the one that drove her to it was going to be responsible, and the mentor said yes, he's responsible. She's responsible for her own acts when she became a prostitute, but he is responsible for driving her to become a prostitute. Yeah.
Absolutely. Very, very good point. Thank you, Ron. I mean, but that's when we say, right, the calamities are necessary, but of whom the calamities comes upon, right? In this world of trials and atonements, we need to atone to a lot of things. There is the likelihood, because of our necessity to go to reincarnation, that we'll be reincarnating in situations that we are at risk of deviating from the plan and going the wrong direction. Things are going to lead us to that wrong direction. those parents, of course, they were not here with a plan of being abusive to their children. Absolutely not. But they bring with them that baggage, that tendencies. And likely, not say for sure, because you cannot say for sure, there is a previous relationship between those parents and those kids already, and not a very nice relationship from what we can imagine over here. So the likelihood and that they have been placed together in a very difficult situation in what both sides have to resist the temptation of deviating for that plan and stray. One side become abusive and the other side not being able to tolerate that abuse and commit a crime. But none of them came here, none of the sides came here to commit any kind of crime, considering and asserting here that abuse is a crime. And one crime does not justify another.
We can go a little bit deeper, right? In another case, the case of this son that just last December murdered both his father and mother, this movie director Rob Reiner, right, and his wife. They were killed by a son that was schizophrenic, and that you can also reflect on that, right? What's the responsibility there of the parents? What's the responsibility of the sons? The responsibility of the parents would probably be to isolate the son, for him not to be, because when he already made some decisions in his life that were dangerous to himself and to others. So the role of the parents there, which is easy to say, but of course difficult to put in practice, was to prevent his son from committing those acts. And he already pled insanity, right? And he's probably going to be put in an institution for the rest of his life, but not in prison because of insanity, right? So, did he come here to kill his parents? Of course not. Did his parents came here to be killed by their son? Of course not. But both of the parents came here with the karma of having a violent death. That's for sure. Now, it didn't need to be the son killing them. They could have died in a car accident, in a fall, and things like that, right? So, each case is it's complex and it's a different story.
Yep.
862.
Yes, please.
There are individuals who never succeed and seem to be stalked by a bad spirit in all their endeavors. Is this not what we call fatalism? It is definitely fatalism, if you want to call it that, but it results from the type of life chosen by those individuals in the spirit state, because they wanted to exercise their patience and resignation through life of disappointment. However, do not believe that destiny is absolute. It is often a consequence for individuals who choose the wrong path, one that does not correspond to their intelligence and abilities. If people try to cross a river without knowing how to swim, they stand a very good chance of drowning. And we can say the same about most events in your life. If people only attempted things that are in harmony with their abilities, they would usually succeed. The cause of their failure is their conceit and ambition, which veer them off their proper path and make them mistake a desire to satisfy passions for vocation. They fail by their own fault, but instead of blaming themselves, they prefer to blame their star. For example, An individual who could have been a good craftsperson and honorably earned a living in the capacity in that capacity prefers to write bad poetry and ultimately dies of starvation. There would be a place for everyone if everyone assumed their proper place.
Thank you. Well, there are individuals out there that seems like things never worked well for them, right? There are individuals who never succeed and seems to be stuck by bad spirit in all their endeavors. Is this not what we can call fatalism? So the spirit gives two possibilities over here. One, let's say that indeed there was in the plan of the pre-reincarnation plan that would be pretty much the life that this individual go through to be able to conquer some vices or to conquer some virtues and get rid of some vices. Because they need to develop ability to resign to the things they have no control of, to develop patience, to have some kind of strokes that lead them to conquer some vices and to get rid of anxieties or whatever problem there may be. And if that is what they have chosen, in that reincarnation, they had the ability to sit down with the man to say, you have all those problems. If you go through this kind of reincarnation, you'll be able to resolve some of them. This is why you think, oh yeah, that's good. I want to go and do like that. I want nothing to go well for me. I want to be ugly. I want to be poor.
Give me a break.
And this and that, and I had everything. And everything that I try gonna go wrong. I want that. That's exactly what I need. And you got what you want. And then of course, when you come over here, you complain. I would be complaining as well. But there is another possibility that the Spirit brought to us. And that's why I say that about more than 80% of the things that we go through, the not so good things, it's consequences of our decisions here now, nothing to do with the reincarnation plan. So Elmo decided his voice that he wants to be a singer of rock. And I'm going to start writing music and singing, and that's going to be my way of making my living. Well, Elmo is predestined to starve to death. As simple as that. He made a choice. Elmo decides that he's going to be a basketball player. I'm going to play in the NBA. I'm not going to stop until I reach the NBA. Well, I'm not going to stop until I die of starvation because I'm never going to make the NBA. The decision that I'm making. I have no abilities with that round thing, and I have no height to play with that brown thing. And we're going to be eaten up in a court by those who have the ability to get the NBA. Or even those who can even get close to the NBA but know how to play the game, which I don't. But I insist, that's what I want to do. God is not good. God is not helping me. You make bad choices, you get bad consequences. And that is about 80% of the things that happens to us here. So there's still possibility of things not going well for us. Maybe 20% of it is what we signed for, and because it's good for our moral progress, the Spirit will not intervene. But the great majority is bad choice that we make when we are here because we are lazy, want to get the shortcut. We forget that the biggest distance between the 2 points is the shortcut. Always take the long way to get there. You're gonna get a shortcut, you're gonna get lost along the way. But we want the shortcut. You want the fast way. We want the one that brings more money with a minimal effort. What's the one that make us look good and everybody? Our papers, our name gonna be in the newspapers, our pictures gonna be everywhere. I don't have that talent, my friend. Don't blame the spirits. Don't blame God. Don't blame your pre-reincarnation plan. 58, going to stop here. Any comments?
Yeah, Elmo, hi, Carol here. On question 862, would this be a setup as an obsessor from the spirit world? Would they, in other words, would the physical being know this bad spirit? In other words, for the entirety of their physical life?
Very good question.
Oh,
I-
we are surrounded by a multitude of witnesses, right? There's always spirits around us. To follow the suggestion of our obsessors is also a choice that we make, exercise of free will. So we cannot really blame the obsessors. The obsessor may be a contributor, but it's the choice is ours.
But would we actually have knowledge of the bad spirit, or would this be as we come into physical form, then it's selected in a way inadvertently? I don't know. I'm not clear. I'm not really sure of this one. Bad spirit. I don't know. It feels like more. It could be an obsessor. Don't know.
That answered a wonderful question. That's perceived to Kardec, the know thyself, right? Once you know,
Right.
then you'll be able to distinguish what's yours and what's not yours. But it starts with
Mhm.
knowing yourself, know what you are.
Mm.
Also, how much you give in to the influence of the spirits for unwise rewards, because you like the fame, because you like the popularity, because you like to be seen, to be placed in a pedestal. Then all the stimuli from your obsessor that guide you towards those objectives, you may like those ideas and follow it, but it is still your exercising of free will.
Mm. Thank you, Elmo. That makes sense. Thank you.
So, Carol, can you give us a final prayer, please?
Certainly. Thank you. Thanks so much, Elmo, for hosting for us tonight. Thank you, John. And thank you, Philip, for reading. I hope you're feeling better. And thank you, everyone, for being here and participating. Infinite Creator and Divine Providence, we give thanks to be together for our studies of the Spirit book. Book 3, Chapter 10, The Law of Freedom, and our topic is Fatalism. Physical death of the body will occur. Some fear it, some do not. Some may have a dream or a premonition of their death, and there may be assistance from a protective spirit to encourage them to be prepared or to draw upon more courage, especially during wartime settings. Not everything is written in stone to occur, such as accidents or minor incidences. Certain major events may be important to experience for the benefit of purification and moral development. The law of cause and consequence will prevail to ensure progress. The divine laws are written in our conscience. No one is predestined to commit any crime as a human being. Every action is based on choice and free will. We give thanks to the spiritual benefactors and the good spirits for guiding and inspiring us this evening. May we receive the love, light, and peace of Christ within us, and for our loved ones, our teachers, our directors, our counselors, our mediums, our workers, and all participants. We pray for inner peace, and especially now for world peace, and for those who are suffering in the physical and spiritual worlds. We pray for our center, SGNY, and all Spiritist centers throughout the world, that they may grow, prosper, expand, and be protected throughout the day and throughout the night. As we close, we humbly ask for safety and protection as we return to our family, friends, loved ones, and coworkers. May we go forth and remind ourselves now to be beacons of love, of light, of peace, of service, and charity, which is love in action. May peace and love prevail. So be it.